What's going on, guys? It's your boy Disdecoder, and welcome back to another episode of YugiTuber Ruling Quiz. And today, you guys have been requesting this one in every single video since the first one that I posted. You guys wanted Burning Abyss rulings with my man FARFA. So here we are. Nadir, Mr. FARFA, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm so nervous. Like I know I can probably, I know I can probably do most of these like just by myself, thinking it through. But I'm in the spotlight now. I'm actually really nervous. I'm worried.
I mean, to be fair, I have run you through a lot of Burning Abyss rulings over the years. However, yeah. I've not run you through the ones that I've brought up here. I'm pretty sure that all of these are rulings that I've never actually spoken with you about or have never really come up for you all that much. They are really interesting, but I did have to go digging to try and find something that I knew you didn't already immediately know, or like wasn't something that I'd ask you the question and you probably answer by the time I finish asking the question, you know? So, overall,
I'm not gonna do what
questions...
DZ did and just like auto answer without like fully comprehending, like, you know, I'll make sure to check if there's any damage step clauses. Yeah,
you probably should read the cardboard. That might be a very, very good idea. But the chat has already put in their predictions for you. They are basically getting their points if you score 5 or higher. So you basically need to go above Team Sam. Literally, Team Sam is the metric that you need to beat.
Shouldn't be hard. Beat him every week.
All right, so let's get right into the rulings. Over here, you have a Seer on your field and a Fiendish Rhino Warrior in your hand. With Seer on your field, you normal summon Fiendish Rhino Warrior. At this point, is the effect of Seer applied, so that it is destroyed before Fiendish Rhino Warrior applies its effect, or is the Fiendish Rhino Warrior applying before the Seer applies to destroy itself, and then the Seer doesn't get destroyed?
The age-old question of why doesn't the BA die?
Yeah, why doesn't the BA die? Or does it die? We don't know.
The way you've worded it is like so weird. I've never actually thought about how continuous effects immediately apply, but no, Fiendish Rhino Warrior does protect.
It does protect the Seer. So, final answer?
Yeah. Yes, it will not die.
Well, Nadir, you have scored 1 out of 1 on the easiest question in the test. The Fiendish Rhino Warrior does apply its continuous effect before the Seer would attempt to destroy itself. So in this case, the Seer male branch of the Burning Abyss is not destroyed. 1-0. 1-1, I should say. 1 for 1. Yeah, that's a good card. 1 for 1. We'll go with that. For my boy FARFA. And so far, so good. We will go into the second question. Here, Beatrice is Xe summoned on top of your Dante by discarding the Alec here. So you summon the Beatrice. The question at hand here. Your opponent chains Book of Moon and books your Beatrice. You then activate the Book of Taiyu to flip your Beatrice back up. At this point, because the Beatrice was set by Book of Moon and then flipped by Book of Taiyu, is your Beatrice allowed to activate its effect to send a card from the deck to the graveyard?
If summoned this way, the following effect cannot be activated this turn. No, because monsters remember how they were summoned, not where they were summoned from, I believe is the correct answer. So
final answer? No Beatrice this turn?
No Beatrice this turn.
Are you certain? Are you absolutely positive?
Yes.
Okay, well, you are incorrect, Nadir. Unfortunately, you are allowed to activate the effect of the Beatrice.
Did I get the thing wrong there, where monsters remember where they're from, not how they're summoned?
So that's the thing. Monsters remember, if they are booked, they remember that they were summoned this turn. However, they do not remember that they were summoned via this alternate summoning condition. So the Beatrice doesn't remember that it doesn't remember that it was summoned this turn. However, it doesn't remember that it was special summoned using a Dante as a material by discarding another BA monster from hand. So for that reason, the restriction on the effect of Beatrice is no longer applied if the Beatrice is booked and then flipped back up on the same turn that it was summoned using this alternate summoning condition. It's okay. We're 1-2. 6 more questions to go. Plenty of time to play the catch-up game. Are you ready for question number 3?
All right, let's go.
You activate the effect of Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, detaching a Barbar that was normal summoned this turn. You then mill 1 and you mill Good and Evil of the Burning Abyss. You then use the effect of Barbar, banishing the Good and Evil in order to burn your opponent for 300 damage. After that, you use Paleozoic Leoncolia to return the Good and Evil to your graveyard. Are you allowed to, in that same turn, activate the effect of Good and Evil in the Burning Abyss from your graveyard, provided you had a Burning Abyss card in your hand, because I forgot to put one in the replay. But if you had a Burning Abyss card in your hand here, during this same turn, would you be allowed to activate the effect of the Good and Evil?
So Good and Evil was sent to the graveyard this turn by the Dante. So that does ring true for this turn. But I do know that Leancolia does not send cards to the graveyard. It's returning, which is not the same. So the only part that I'm a little bit stuck on here isn't whether or not Leancolia returns or sends. I know it doesn't send, it returns it. What I don't know 100% for sure is whether or not the mill is considered sending to the grave. During your main phase, except the turn this was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this. So I'm just thinking, like, you know, on the one hand, yes, it was sent to the grave this turn. That is true. But it was then banished, and then that sort of, you know, makes it like a new card in a way. So because it says like this card was sent, I think you can use it, because Barbar makes it like a new card almost, and then it returns. So I think you can use it, provided that you did have a BA.
Yeah, provided that you had a BA in hand, of course. I forgot to do it in the replay, but provided you have a Burning Abyss card to discard from your hand. So final answer, you are allowed to activate the Good and Evil?
Yes.
Well, Nadir, how confident are you in this answer?
Not that confident, but I think because it says this card, I feel like 70-30.
Well, Nadir, you are correct. You are allowed to activate the effect of the Good and Evil in the graveyard. Honestly, you were going completely the wrong way, and then I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then you said, yeah, when it gets banished, it's treated as a different card. And I was like, yes, he got it. He got it. So yes, when the Barbar banishes the Good and Evil in the Burning Abyss from the graveyard, it is treated as a different card than it was in the graveyard. So because it's then considered a different card, and the Leancolia returns it to the graveyard, doesn't send it to the graveyard, the now newly in the graveyard Good and Evil is treated as a different card from the original Good and Evil that was initially sent to the graveyard by the Dante. So at this point, it is not a card that was considered to be sent to the graveyard this turn, so you are allowed to activate the effect. Very good. 2 for 3. We are in a positive score right now.
That's the most FARFA thing ever, because I got the hard part right, which is understanding that Leancolia returns, it doesn't send.
Yeah.
The easy part should be knowing that cards are treated differently when they move location.
All right, 2 for 3. Moving on to question number 4. And here, very simple board state. We have a Dante with a Barbar and a Farfa as material. What could this question possibly be? Here, you activate the effect of the Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, detaching the Farfa, mill a card, and you mill a Skarm. You then use the effect of Farfa to banish your Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. After that, during the end phase, your Dante comes back. You pass turn to your opponent, and the first play your opponent makes is they go to the main phase 1, and they activate Shaddoll Fusion. Yeah, we forgot Skarm. We're not good Burning Abyss players here. We're not as good as you. So here, your opponent activates Shaddoll Fusion. Are they allowed to fusion summon using their deck while you control a Dante that was XC summoned and then banished and returned by Farfa?
You know what's really funny here is you showed me your exact like Metafy coaching chart that has the answer that explains, like, you know, monsters remember or don't remember where they're from when they leave the field. Yes, this was a ruling that was incredibly relevant back in 2014, and I know you played very heavily back then. Do you remember what the ruling was way back in the day? I don't remember, but I'm not gonna go based on my memory. I'm just gonna like work through it as I normally do, which is through the ruling, the procedure of understanding it as a judge and how. Because
you are a judge, you are RC1. You are literally more qualified to be a judge than I am.
So how does it go again? Monsters remember how they were summoned, not where they were summoned from, or vice versa. Remember where they were summoned from, but not how they were summoned. Man, I gotta do your Metafy chart again. So I'm pretty sure like they remember how they're summoned, because that's why like you can bring back things like fusions and stuff with DDR. I think so anyway. But that not like where they're from. So I'm pretty sure that you cannot fuse from deck.
Okay, is that a final answer?
Yep.
So that is unfortunately incorrect. You can fuse from the deck. when the Dante is banished temporarily. So the reason why this is important to know is that there is a difference between temporary banishment and being flipped face down when you consider a card like Shaddoll Fusion or a card that needs to check.
The one. There's a difference between flip and banish. Right?
Exactly. So if a monster gets flipped face down, it forgets where it was summoned from, as opposed to if it gets temporarily banished, something like FARFA or anything like that, it does not forget where it was summoned from. This is one of the few differences that a card does or doesn't remember when flipped face down, as opposed to being farfa'd. In this case, when a monster is farfa'd, it remembers that it was summoned from the extra deck, so Shaddoll Fusion is allowed to fusion using monsters from the deck. Currently, 2 for 4, 4 more to go. You only need to get 2 more right for the people to get their... you need 3 more right for the people to get their channel points and for you to beat out Team Sam. If you get 2 more right, you tie with your boy, Team Samuel XO.
All right, let's do it for chat.
You control a face-down Farfa male branch of the Burning Abyss and an interrupt resistor. You can read that in just a moment. Your opponent attacks your Farfa with the Bean Soldier. Your Farfa then flips face up. The question here is, during damage calculation, you use the effect of the Interrupt Resistor, to which your opponent chains Solemn Strike. Once per turn, during damage calculation, when another defense position monster you control is attacked by an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can activate this effect. During this damage calculation, your attacked monster's defense becomes equal to this card's defense. Also, it cannot be destroyed by that battle. So here, in the damage calculation, you use the effect of Interrupt Resistor, your opponent chains the Solemn Strike, negating and destroying your Interrupt Resistor. The question that is being asked here, is the Farfa destroyed by its own effect at any point, and if so, at which point is it destroyed?
Is Farfa destroyed? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. The reason for that is that monsters are flipped up immediately before damage calculation. And what does that monster say? It's during the damage...
During damage calculation, yes.
Yeah, so Farfa should just die irrespective of when that... well, not irrespective when it leaves the field, but it leaves the field too late, basically. Farfa will flip face up and immediately die.
So you think that the Farfa would be flipped before damage calc and then be destroyed during before damage calculation?
Yeah.
In that case, would it even be...
is during damage calc, which I assume is the perform damage calc step, which is one step after.
That is the step right after, yes. So would it be... would it even be legal to activate the Interrupt Resistor here then?
Oh.
Oh.
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
When another defense position monster... Well, I guess... So I guess like this is... So I guess monsters that have continuous effects have them applied not during before damage calc? They apply after?
I don't know. Do they?
Well, I'm not allowed to use the damage. This is easy, right? Because I can answer this easily. Because if I use outside resources, which is
actually
the official Konami damage flow chart, by the way, which apparently I'm not allowed to use here.
To be fair, this actually doesn't appear on the official Konami damage step chart. This is something that is not actually outlined in that damage step chart. This is a ruling that is confirmed by other precedents that are set by other cards with official rulings on the database.
Well, I can't use the chart, so this would have to be basically guessing. So, based on the fact that it isn't an illegal activation and it doesn't just flip face up and immediately use its effect. I'm pretty sure monsters that have continuous effect could just immediately continuous effect. Farfa will be destroyed.
Final answer?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I threw you for quite a loop on this one. This is one of the harder ones that I put on the test.
Just say correct or incorrect first.
It is. You're incorrect. You are indeed not correct. In this situation,
oh my god, man,
the Farfa is not destroyed. This is actually one of the rulings that I threw into the video where I went on YGO Omega and tested rulings on Omega to see if it was going to get it correct. And Omega actually did get it correct, which was actually funny. And the reason why is because monsters with continuous effects, such as Farfa and stuff like that, will check whether or not there is a non-Burning Abyss monster on the field only once you reach after damage calculation. But because here, even though the Farfa was at one point on the field at the same time as an Interrupt Resistor, which is not a Burning Abyss monster, because the Interrupt Resistor left during damage calculation and was not on the field during after damage calculation when the Farfa actually checks if there are non-BA monsters on the field, the Farfa only checks once you reach at that point, and because there is no non-BA monster on the field at that point, the Farfa does not get destroyed, and that is the reason why the BA no die. What is this? Two for 4? 2 for 5? What
are we on? Is that 2 for 5?
That is indeed 2 for 5. In order for the chat To acquire their channel points, you must get the next 3 answers correctly.
This is abysmal.
The doubters are feeling good. The believers are in shambles. But I believe that you can turn it right around and pull through. Are you feeling confident?
Right. Nope.
Good to know.
You're going to tell me that these get even harder, so nope.
Not necessarily, maybe, possibly. We'll see. We shall see. So here, you enter the end phase with 7 cards in your hand. You discard Scarm, Male Branch of the Burning Abyss for hand size limit. Can you activate the effect of Scarm in this situation? And if you are allowed to activate Scarm, do you need to discard again after you add a level 3 Fiend monster?
I'm pretty sure that the I don't know the name of it. We'll call it maintenance cost of your hand is I'm pretty sure that's not end of the phase. I'm pretty sure that's like, you know, like a part of the end of your turn.
Okay.
And so that's after the end phase, which is when Scarm would occur. So I'm pretty sure you can't use Scarm at all.
How sure are you about this one?
I was sure about the last 3 I got wrong, so I don't even know anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the opposite of my gut, just because, you know, I was so sure about the last ones. Let's just go with the opposite, because I think the answer is you shouldn't be able to, but I'll go with yeah, you can, and then you can add a level 3.
FARFA, please, just go with what you actually think is the answer, please.
No, I did that for the last 2 and I got them wrong.
Please, I am begging you. Please just go with what you actually think is the answer.
Okay, you know what? Just based off of the, okay, I'll tell you why I know this, right? See, because of the fact that you asked the question, you discard. I'm being like an exam nitpicker
Exam
right
Andy,
now, right?
yeah.
You wouldn't ask. Would you then be able to then add a level 3 if it wasn't correct in the first place?
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
Unless
this is
you're,
me
like,
you're
trying to
talking about. This is me you're talking about.
True.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, God.
Okay, what is your final answer, Nadir?
I'm pretty sure you just can't, but, like...
You're correct! Congratulations, you cannot use the effect of Scarm!
I mean, I knew
he
that
got
was
it
the
right!
answer, but
He got it
don't know
correct, chat.
anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, he got it right! Congratulations! You are... You are now 3 for 6, right? Is that the one? 3 for 6? Yes, that is correct. You are 3 for 6. Congratulations, Nadir. The answer, actually, you got the answer right for the wrong reason. But you weren't very far off. So you said that you think that discarding for hand size limit doesn't occur as part of the end phase. It actually occurs after the end phase is over. Technically, that's not exactly correct. Basically, you discard for hand size limit as the last thing to occur in your end phase. Basically, what would happen if you discarded like something like a graph?
The end step of the end phase.
Pretty much. We could call it that if you want to. But if you were to discard something like a graph or a seer, it would be able to activate because you're technically still in your end phase, still in the phase where you would be able to activate that trigger effect. But the thing with Scarm is that Scarm is an effect that needs to be activated during the open game state in the end phase. And the thing is, once you reach the point where you start discarding for hand size limit, you can no longer go back to a point where you are in an open game state in the end phase, so you're not allowed to activate the effect of the Scarm here. So congratulations, 3 for 6. You need 2 more for the people get the channel points. If you get 1 more correct and you miss 1, you're tied with Sam. Are you ready to go to the next ruling question?
Let's go! We can do this.
Let's go! All right,
I'm not
this
gonna
is
get
a
as
very...
much as Triff because you gave him baby answers, baby
Whoa,
questions.
what do you mean?
Sure.
What do you mean? BA actually has a lot more interesting ruling questions than Pendulum, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know, they're harder.
On the field, very, very simple. Here we have a Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, on the field, and the opponent controls a Utopia that does not have any materials. Do you actually know the effect of Utopia when it doesn't have materials?
Oh, wait, what?
Utopia has the effect that says if this card is targeted for an attack... Yeah, so Utopia, it pretends it's a BA and it just blows up. Cool? So, in this situation... In this situation, you enter the battle phase. You enter the battle phase.
Sorry, continue.
Utopia of the Burning Abyss. Yeah, exactly. You enter the battle phase, and you declare an attack with the Dante on your opponent's Utopia. So an attack is declared with your Dante on your opponent's number 39 Utopia with no Xyz materials. Utopia's effect activates, destroying it, and a replay occurs, during which you decide to not select another attack target. So you basically cancel your attack. You do not perform the replay. So a replay occurs. My question is, A, does the Dante change itself to defense when you attempt to leave the battle phase? And during the main phase 2, are you allowed to make a Zeus? He's actually reading the card in front of him. I'm done. See, like,
If an exceed...
let me check the archives.
Yeah, an attack was still declared, but I don't think you're allowed to summon Zeus because a battle didn't occur.
All right. So is that? Can we get a final answer from Mr. Nadir?
See, Kevin, this is all stuff that's easily available on the damage step.
Are you sure about
card,
that?
You can
Are you
okay,
sure
probably not
about that?
It's on the battle step. What's it called?
I can tell you right now that one of those is true, but the harder one is not.
Dante will go to defense. That's final answer.
Okay.
Zeus will not be allowed to be summoned. Final answer.
Okay. So, Mr. Nadir, congratulations on 0.5 points because you are correct on one of the 2 points. Which
I'm
one do you
correct
think
about
you
that.
got wrong?
I think definitely the Zeus one.
Okay, well, you actually got the Zeus one correct. You actually got the Dante
Shut up.
one incorrect. The reason
An
why...
attack was declared. What do you mean?
So that's the thing. A monster is not considered to have attacked unless you reach the damage step in some way, shape, or form. So here, the
Wow.
Dante says, if this card attacks, it is changed to defense position at the end of the battle phase. It is only considered to have been a monster that has attacked if you do reach the damage step in some form. Because the attack was cancelled, the Dante is not treated to have been a monster that has attacked. Now, you were correct about the Zeus, because when you consider, it says when a monster has battled, in order for a monster to be considered to have battled, you need to have reached the damage calculation. So in order for a monster to be considered a monster that has attacked or is attacking, it has to reach the damage step, just in general. And for the monster to be treated to have battled, it needs to reach the damage calculation.
Okay.
So here you
I
get
get it.
0.5 points. You are currently on 3.5 out of 7. And because you are in the running to beat Team Samurai X1 if you get this last one correct, I will grant the channel points to the Twitch chat if you get this last one right and you finish with a big old 4.5 out of 8.
I just want to say, because I know your chat is probably absolutely molding right now, but if you think about it, if you have 1 life point and you activate Solemn Judgment, what happens?
It rounds up. Yeah,
It
dude.
rounds up.
He
Yep.
knows the ruling. He
So-
knows.
Cry about it.
You control Cherubini and an Archfiend Eccentric in your Pendulum Zone. I'm sure you can figure out where this is going. Your opponent activates Raigeki. Are you allowed to use the effect of Cherubini, sending the Archfiend Eccentric in order to prevent itself from being destroyed? And if so, where does the Archfiend Eccentric end up?
Yeah, so Trubini sends a card. Oh, no. Wait, I'm reading the wrong part.
Yeah, it says if this card will be destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can send one other card you control to the graveyard instead.
So this is just a question of how does Cherubini interact with pendulum monsters. So you can't pay costs for the pendulums sending to the grave, so that, it should be able to protect itself. The question is, does the Archfiend Eccentric go to the grave? I don't see why it would go to the grave. Maybe for some sort of... I mean, it is an effect. It isn't some kind of, condition or cost or something. But then again, monsters go to the extra deck for pendulums. So maybe you can't use Cherubini, I guess, is probably the logical thing here.
You said that Triff got the baby pendulum questions. You literally have a pendulum question here. Are you able to show Triff that you know more about pens than he does?
I think it's basically just a case of, because it's not a cost. It's not like some sort of payment that happens. It's just like, as part of the effect, you send it to the graveyard. But that doesn't mean it needs to go to the graveyard. It just so happens that part of its effect, it needs to go to the grave. But rather than going to the grave, it would just get sent to the extra.
Final answer?
Oh, wait, hang on. If this would be destroyed without a card effect, you can send one of them. Weirdly enough, Kevin, I've never seen Cherubini and the Pendulum Monster in the same deck.
I know, right?
Well, so it's not like it's not a PSCT question where it's like, oh, it has to go to the graveyard.
It is indeed not a PSCT question.
Because in that scenario, I think it would be a little bit more complicated. But I think it might just be a simple case of, you just send it to the grave, but because it's a pendulum monster, it would just go to the extra and it would protect itself. And
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, Cherubini doesn't need me to send it to the graveyard to protect. So I'm pretty sure it just protects itself and Eccentric goes to the extra deck. That's my answer.
Well, ladies and gentlemen of the chat, ladies and gentlemen watching on YouTube, and Mr. FARFA Nadir Burning Abyss of the male branch himself, you are correct! You got the answer correctly. The Cherubini is allowed to replace its own protection by attempting to send the Archphoenix Centric from the Pendulum Zone to the graveyard, and as Pendulum monsters work, instead of going to the graveyard, they're simply redirected to the extra deck, but the Cherubini still protects itself in this situation. Congratulations, Mr. Farfa Nadir, male branch of the Burning Abyss. You have scored 4.5 out of 8. The Twitch chat get their points based on a technicality, and you have beaten out you have beaten out Team Samurai X1 himself, Sam in Shambles. He was episode 1, and everyone else that has come after him has bested him. How are you feeling about today's quiz, my friend?
I feel like that this last question here is actually really easy, but because it's a pendulum, it's like you're trying to, like, you know, throw off with it. But
yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Is that I know you tend to like overthink whenever you're post something that's very easy or something that's simple. You will overthink it because I know that anytime I ask you a ruling question, there's probably some scam in there. So you're you're looking so far ahead trying to figure out, okay, where is he trying to catch me off guard here? Even though it's as simple as a yes or no. You know what I mean? But anyways, I hope you learned something new, Farfa. Ladies and gentlemen of the chat and of YouTube, I hope you guys learned something new as well. This has been yet another episode of the YouTuber Ruling Quiz. Be excited because I have a lot of guests, a lot of people, a lot of pro players that have messaged me and said that they want to be on the show. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be doing a lot of more episodes with YouTubers as well as pro players. It's going to continue to be a weekly series, and I hope you guys are strapped in and ready to go for the later episodes. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Nadir, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you, my dude. Peace!
Peace.